refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they all love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos, and this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry. Wonderful Sports Wednesday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Wednesday morning, the world of sports absolutely on fire. And we're going to get to all the big stories, including why the 2027 NFL draft, and I know the 2026 NBA draft just drew to a conclusion, round number one, why the 2027 NFL draft is worth your time, I promise, on this Wednesday morning. I'm also going to tell you if England is in trouble following its 0-0 draw yesterday against Ghana in the World Cup. And I will answer this question. Will Jaylen Brown be a Boston Celtic next year? We'll play you some sound from Brad Stevens, who talked about Jaylen Brown after round one last night, media availability for the Boston Celtics, and give you a strong opinion on Jaylen Brown's future in Beantown. The phone number, 310-840-4910. YouTube.com/@thekostos. I am on all social platforms at thekostos, TheKostos. Our bets for today and tonight in the World Cup. No thanks to England. 79% possession, can't get one goal in against Ghana. 0-0 draw. Otherwise, we would have won that bet we placed yesterday. That's a bit of a bummer, but we'll get back to it today. We'll go back to the well with some World Cup wagers to close the show. But we officially begin the wonderful Sports Wednesday edition of You Better You Bet with overwhelming excitement. Round one of the 2026 NBA draft is in the books. And the primary emotion that I felt last night watching the draft actually might have been annoyance at the broadcast, which we will get to in a little bit here, and why I think ESPN has it all wrong with how it broadcasts and how it produces the broadcast of the NBA draft. Aside from the annoyance at the television product last night, the NBA draft, the main emotion that I felt and continue to feel this morning is excitement. Now, it's important to say this. And if I don't, I will get tons of people, even though it should be obvious, I will get a lot of people on social media saying, you have no idea if these guys are good. We don't know if they're going to be good. I know. They could all suck. AJ DeBonsa could be Jamarcus Russell. Darren Peterson could be Ryan Leaf. All these players could stink and turn out to be nothing. Or maybe they'll just turn out to be good and none of them will be great. No one knows the answers to these questions, and we won't know the answer in totality until years from now. So what I'll say is this, and I think this is a very fair way of putting it. While acknowledging that none of us really have any idea as to how it's going to go, There is a chance that this draft, last night's, and we'll see what happens tonight in round 2, but what we saw last night in round 1, that it could eventually stand side to side with 1984, 1996, 2003. Now 84 is Jordan, and 96 is Kobe, and 2003 is LeBron. It's likely that none of the players picked last night will be as good as any of those three. And I understand that. Maybe they will be. But if you had to guess, you'd say probably not, given the stature that those three have. And the history that those three have made and the way that we view those three players. But man, in totality, all these players that were picked last night, let's be honest. And you watch the draft, you love the NBA, you love this stuff. Did you not feel the same way that I felt last night? Do you not feel the way I feel this morning? Super excited for how this is going to turn out for these players, and more so for these teams. Some of these teams, downtrodden, doormat franchises that have been in the gutter for a long time, and how this could be a transformative NBA draft, a legendary NBA draft. Do you not see it? Do you not think that it's possible? Now, there is a difference, and I will draw on my fan experience here, and I would encourage you to do the same. You know, there are a lot of times when you watch a draft, and it doesn't have to be the NBA, but I'll use the NBA because that's what we're talking about right now, where I am a lifelong diehard fan of the New York Knicks. And yes, I'm on easy street right now. And yes, I went from the outhouse to the penthouse as a sports fan. My favorite NBA team just won the championship. But lest we forget, it wasn't that long ago, hell, like 2 weeks ago, that the Knicks were on a 53-year drought and had not won in my lifetime. And before, the optimism had been beaten out of me like a piñata as a Knicks fan, when you just assume that everything they do is going to be terrible, like the opposite of King Midas, where instead of everything you touching turning to gold, everything that you touch turns to, well, it's a family-friendly show, so I won't say. I can think back to, like, in 1996, the Knicks had 3 first-round picks and took Syracuse's John Wallace, who took 'Cuse to the national championship game, lost to Kentucky in that national championship game, took Walter McCarty from Kentucky, and took Dante Jones. And I remember thinking, oh my God, 3 first-round picks? We're going to win the championship next year. This is unbelievable. How about when the Knicks drafted Charlie Ward, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback? And he's going to play point guard for our team? This is sick. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He chose this over the NFL. He's going to be great. This is the best. Hell, even when the Knicks took Frederick Weiss, you talk yourself into him being like the French David Robinson. You tell yourself a story as a sports fan during these drafts. We've all been there, no matter what the sport. You're a big football fan, your favorite football team takes a player, you tell yourself a story. You don't know how it's going to go, but you tell yourself a story that it's going to be great. Last night's NBA draft, in terms of storytelling, that's not what this is. You don't have to do Pride and Prejudice. You don't have to tell Game of Thrones, Mario Puzo's Godfather. We don't need any Charles Dickens novels. This is not Harry Potter. This is not some type of ridiculous story that you need to tell with a sick imagination and all these characters and this ridiculous narrative. That's not what this has to be. It doesn't have to be that type of story. Because you don't really need to tell yourself a story to think that this is going to be a transformative draft for many of these teams that picked early last night. The Washington Wizards selected A.J. DeBonsa from BYU first overall. I will acknowledge that anyone could bust. Even like the biggest lock player of all time doesn't have to be good in any sport. Do you think A.J. DeBonsa is going to be bad? Did you watch him at BYU? He's a freak A scoring freak, an absolute machine, and a killer. He's going to be great. Now, I don't know if he's going to be great game one, year one, but how is he not going to be good? I don't know if he's going to be Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. Probably not. But I mean, he's not going to be really good? Really? Like Darren Peterson goes to Utah. Now, there is a way that Darren Peterson isn't great, and it's that he doesn't care. But everything that Darren Peterson has said is that this is just my personality, and I'm quiet. But he even said he's a killer. Like, I want to kill people on the court. If Darren Peterson tries and doesn't tap out of games, and I doubt that's going to be the case now that he's in the NBA, but we'll see, how is he not going to be good? Of course he's going to be good. Cameron Boozer goes 3rd overall to the Memphis Grizzlies. Caleb Wilson goes 4th overall to the Chicago Bulls. And in the vast majority of NBA drafts, Boozer and Wilson go 1. If the other guy, DeBonza and Peterson, aren't in the draft. These are number 1 overall caliber picks that all went from 1 through 4. And how often does that happen? And I'll put it to you like this. When you think about next year's first team all-rookie, right? The rookie first team next year. How many of the top 4 picks are going to be on the all-rookie team? Like, it will be, something will have gone terribly wrong if DeBonza, Peterson, and Boozer at minimum aren't on it, on the all-rookie team. And the way people talk about Caleb Wilson is that he has the highest upside of any of these players, potentially. Now, I don't like the Bulls as much as I like some of these other teams, but I mean, what, can Caleb Wilson be first-team all-rookie? And I know maybe Acuff maybe from the 7th pick? I mean, think about that. First 4 picks in the draft, all be first-team all-rookie. This draft is sick. Now, I'm not the biggest Keaton Wagler fan, and maybe some of that has to do with the fact that I really wanted Illinois to be UConn in the national semifinal, and they didn't. But, like, the Clippers clearly felt good enough about Wagler. They took him 5th. He's got some size to play next to Darius Garland. Why can't he make an impact immediately? I'll ask a different question. How is he not going to make an impact immediately? Mikael Brown's going to go to the Brooklyn Nets. He's going to play huge minutes immediately. Jeff Goodman's on the show yesterday saying that Mikael Brown, outside of the top 4, is the best player in the draft. Everybody loves Darius Acuff, and with good reason. The Sacramento Kings are going to hand him the keys to the franchise. Why can't he be Tyreek Evans? When Tyreek Evans for Sacramento won Rookie of the Year. Why can't that happen for Darius Acuff? Evans coached by John Calipari. Acuff coached by John Calipari. The Atlanta Hawks at 8 get Kingston Flemings from Houston. What a gift as a result of the Derek Queen trade last year in the draft. They just falls into their lap. Morez Johnson, and I'm not trying to say these guys are going to be all first-team All-Pros, but think about it, right? Morez Johnson goes to play for Dusty May now, his college coach, with the Dallas Mavericks. Is going to be next to Derek Lively on the front line with Cooper Flagg. That defense is going to be ridiculous. Even the Milwaukee Bucks, and I hate the Giannis trade. And maybe like 5 years from now, I'll be forced to say I was wrong about it. I think it was a terrible deal, but I'll tell you what. Milwaukee, this is as good as they could have possibly hoped for. Braden Burries and Nate Ament, that's awesome. 2 huge high upside players. I think when it's all said and done, and we look back 10, 5 years from now, hell, how about 365 days from now, next year's NBA draft? We're going to look at this draft and say, oh my God, this was transformative. Look at what it did to so many of these franchises. And and the way that we now talk about in 2026, like the 96 draft, 30 years ago, that makes me feel old. 30 years ago was that draft. It's like, can you believe how many really good players were picked in that draft? It's not just Kobe, obviously. There's so many great players picked in that draft. And this is like guys sit around and girls sit around, and what do? We name old athletes, and we love it. We love to play that game, right? We do it now with 96. In 2056, if we're all still around, I hope so, are we going to be looking back to 26 and this draft and saying, wow, can you believe this guy went 18th overall in that draft? Can you believe it? The Washington Wizards now, with A.J. DeBonsa, the Wizards have basically been, for the balance of my life, an irrelevant franchise. Irrelevant. A couple of years of relevance here and there, whether it's John Wall and Brad Beal, the one Russell Westbrook year, they have, by and large, they have stunk. For my entire life, they've been bad. Tell me right now with a straight face, not that A.J. DeBonsa is going to be the best player in the league. I'm not asking anyone to say that, nor will I say it. But tell me that he does not represent legitimate hope. And that he can't transform this franchise and take them from irrelevance to relevance immediately with Trae Young and Sarr. And if they keep Anthony Davis and Trey Johnson and George, it's a good roster. Like, if you're a Wizards fan this morning, you can be excited. Now, the Utah Jazz in my lifetime have had big periods of relevance. Obviously, back-to-back finals trips with Malone and Stockton, losing to the Bulls both times. Some of the years with Donovan Mitchell, Darren Williams, Carlos Boozer. The Jazz have been bad for a little bit now. I've been tanking for a while now. Look at this roster now with Darren Peterson and tell me that this is not going to be a playoff team this year. Utah is absolutely one of the 10 best teams in the Western Conference, might be one of the 8 best teams in the Western Conference next year. Peterson and Ace Bailey in the last 2 years. Peterson, if he keeps his head on straight, he's going to be unbelievable. Lowry Markkanen, Triple J. Can they bring back Walker Kessler? To the playoff, we're going to see Darren Peterson play playoff games next year. Now, maybe it's play-in games, but we're going to see it if he's healthy. The Jazz are good. Like, this is actually a good team. If you're a Jazz fan, you wake up this morning, you got to be pumped. You have to be excited. But if you're a Memphis Grizzlies fan, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Like, John Morant has been the albatross slung around this team's neck for a little bit now. And he's dominated all the headlines with the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, here's noted winner Cam Boozer to go along with Jalen Wells, to go along with Cedric Howard, to go along with Zach Edey. Tell me this isn't a really exciting young team. I'm not saying they're going to win the West. Of course they're not. But I mean, if you're a Grizzlies fan, you can't be pumped. Think about the Chicago Bulls. Now, it's funny, right? Because the Knicks just won the championship, and, I still hate... I want to say that I don't care about the Bulls anymore because the Knicks won, but, I have to be honest. I still hate them. Never want them to win. It's a great night for the Chicago Bulls. Great night. Swan, later on in the first round. And Caleb Wilson could have gotten number 1 overall in other drafts. 4th overall. If you're a Bulls fan, you got to be feeling awesome today. And the Bulls have largely been irrelevant since Michael Jordan retired. And I understand they've had a couple playoff years here and there, had Derrick Rose, obviously. But the Bulls have largely been an irrelevant franchise. Transformative. It's a transformative NBA draft last night. A transformative first round of the NBA draft last night. Where I'm not going to guarantee again that any of these players are going to be Hall of Famers. But you can't tell me. You can't. You can try, but you can't. With a straight face, if you're being honest. Tell me that anything that I just said is incorrect. And that there shouldn't be rampant optimism around so many of these picks and for so many of these teams. And this is not blind optimism from me. I can come on the show, and I have, and I'm negative a lot. I tell you when I think teams do stupid things, make stupid hires, make stupid draft picks, execute stupid trades. I don't know how that's your opinion today, coming out of this draft. If you're doing an NBA draft, the losers thing here, who are the losers of the NBA draft? I mean, you're stretching. You're Cirque du Soleil-ing this. You're contorting yourself here. Because, what's even the beef? Oh, I wish the Clippers had taken Mikael Brown over Keaton Wagler. Really? That's the beef? This is Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning? Come on. Mitch Trubisky instead of Patrick Mahomes because the Brooklyn Nets took Mike L. Brown over Darius Acuff? Come on. This is all just varying degrees of good. And if you're a fan of one of these teams that picked towards the top of the draft last night, you have to be so fired up today. And as a Knicks fan, freed from the shackles of misery and pain and torment, I can say to all of you, I'm happy for you. And I hope you get yours. And I think by and large, what happened last night for many of the teams that selected players, I think this helps get them closer to the ultimate goal, contending for, and maybe, just maybe, one day winning an NBA championship. Just an absolutely awesome night last night for the NBA. We are just getting started here on a wonderful Sports Wednesday. You bet Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos and you, presented by BetMGM. On the other side, we're going to start digging into some of these drafts last night, and two in particular that fascinated me. I'm going to tell you the reasons why and the two teams I'm talking about right after this on a Wednesday.
in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Adai Mara from Zaragoza, Spain, and the University of Michigan. 20th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Jaden Quaintance from the University of Kentucky.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
This segment on You Better You Bet sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. We will get to Jaylen Brown and his future with the Boston Celtics as we move along. Danny Parkins will join us to close the hour. Our friend Jay Croucher from NBC Sports will start next hour on the show. So much NBA draft reaction today on this Wednesday on You Better You Bet. It's funny because the Thunder and Spurs, obviously, by virtue of the fact that they're both awesome, even though Oklahoma City seems to have lottery picks in every draft, despite the fact the Thunder were the number one seed in the Western Conference this year and were the reigning champions coming into the year, the Thunder and the Spurs did not have early picks in this draft. And yet, as the draft is moving on last night, and I want to talk about the broadcast. I'll do it here for a few minutes, and then we'll wrap up with the Thunder and the Spurs. It's horrible. It was a horrible viewing experience last night. I don't understand what ESPN's doing with the way they cover the NBA draft. Especially when you compare, ESPN knows how to broadcast a good draft. I thought ESPN did a great job with the NFL draft a couple of months ago. So it's not like ESPN doesn't know what it's doing. Of course ESPN knows what it's doing. Which makes it that more stunning and that much crazier that they can't get this right. There was, and I like a lot of these individual talents that were on the NBA draft coverage last night. I like Malika Andrews as a host. I like Bobby Marks. I like Andrea Carter. I like Jay Billis. I think by and large, these people, they do a good job. There was no excitement last night. None. There's no humor. There's no entertainment value. It was a slog sitting through it. And I don't know if I was so, I love the draft, and I was so enamored by all of this and the players and the teams that I enjoyed myself. I'm not trying to say I didn't enjoy it, but the broadcast didn't aid my enjoyment. And I know that ESPN and ABC, they run separate draft broadcasts, right? And they do the same thing with the NFL draft. And on ABC, which is network television, right? It's more of kind of human interest stories. And I understand that you're trying to appeal to a wider, more casual audience, right? Here's what I don't need. I am Nick Kostos. And you, even if you're not to my insane level, you're somewhere on the scale. You're somewhere on the spectrum of 99th percentile sports fan. You love sports. You know what you don't need? Here's Merez Johnson and his parents talking to Lisa Salters for 3 minutes. I don't need it. I don't need Adai Mara doing a 3-minute interview with Lisa Salters about his past and when was this moment in 6th grade that who cares? Save it for ABC. Save it for a podcast. And I'm not criticizing Lisa Salters saying that she's doing a bad job at all. She's doing the job that they're asking her to do. Just that on ESPN, we are big sports fans. Do you know what I want? Instead of Yaxel Landeborg and his mom doing an interview. You know what I want instead? How does Yaxel Landeborg fit next to Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler? I don't need AJ DeBonsa and his sisters. You know what I want instead? How is AJ DeBonsa going to work with Anthony Davis and Trae Young? What's the pro player comparison for Kingston Flemings with Atlanta? How does he fit with CJ McCollum? How does he fit with Nickeil Alexander-Walker? Why is this so difficult? Just talk sports. Can we save the human interest stuff for ABC? The broadcast can't be better than that. And think about I want to be fair. How often do you hear me come on the show and kill broadcasts? Like, not often, right? Because I think by and large, a lot of stuff is good. Even if it's not great, it's not terrible. Last night was terrible. It was terrible. Like, can we talk sports? Can you put on an NBA draft show that's for NBA fans, people that love the NBA? You know, there's a clip circulating on social media yesterday of Bill Simmons from The Ringer when he was on ESPN. I think it's during the 2013 NBA draft. And he's giving opinions. And he's criticizing picks. They should bring him back. How much more fun? Like, there's no... And again, the talents are good. The individual talents are good that ESPN had last night on this broadcast. They're not bad. They're good. It's just like, I don't know what this was. Like, have some fun. Like, let's have some laughs. Let's talk some sports. Why is this so difficult? I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, I'm struck last night watching the draft as it moves forward that the two teams that I keep thinking about are the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. So the Thunder, Sam Presti is basically like the NBA's Howie Roseman. Or maybe a more apropos way of putting it would be Howie Roseman is the NFL's Sam Presti. A couple days ago, they have to dump Aaron Wiggins' salary. They trade him to the Hawks for 2 second-round picks, right? It's a salary dump because OKC has a lot of tough financial decisions that they have to make with the way the NBA finances work now. So what do they do then? Here's 2 second-round picks for Bennett Sturts. What? This is like, they're like the Eagles. These trades get announced. You're like, how do you let Sam Presti get away with this? Here's Bennett Sturts. What? Why, right? And of course they take a Daimara. You know why? Because he's 7'3", and you can't teach that. And the Thunder are drafting to beat the Spurs next year in the Western Conference Final. Obviously, that's what... And of course, you can say, well, we'll see about Isaiah Hartenstein's future, and they need a big man. Also, they know they're going to have to go through Wemby to get back to the NBA Finals. I love that from the Thunder. And I'll tell you what. The San Antonio Spurs taking Jaden Quaintance from Kentucky, who would have gone earlier if he hadn't been hurt for a lot of last season, and then doubling down with UConn's Tarris Reed, who was a beast on UConn's run to the national championship game. This is like Tony Soprano sitting at the NBA draft and taking with his first pick Paulie Walnuts and then his second pick Silvio Dante. Here are my consiglieres. Here are my bodyguards. Yeah, Wemby's got a slight frame. OG Anunoby's pushing him around. Cat's pushing him around at points in the NBA Finals. Here's Quaintance and Tarris Reed. Two big bodies to throw out there in the Western Conference Final, in the NBA Finals, in the first round, in the second round, games 1 through 82. You don't think that's purposeful? And how do you not love it? Those are two teams and two franchises that get it. Who know the window's open and say, this is what we need to do. The Spurs, we need help for Wemby down low. They got it. And the Thunder, they got to defend Wemby. And here's a Daimara. And then here's Bennett Sturts. Just like out of thin air. Unbelievable. Just lock it in already next year. 10 and a half, 11 months from now, Thunder Spurs, Western Conference Final. On the other side, Danny Parkins joins us, first things first, on Fox Sports 1, talking NBA draft here on Westwood One Sports.
With the fourth pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select Caleb Wilson from the University of North Carolina.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
It's time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your world's game moment. I tried to make mine yesterday, and England couldn't score against Ghana. Activate your token for any world's game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. The voice of Adam Silver coming back from break, Caleb Wilson, the newest Caleb W. going to lead a Chicago sports franchise. Caleb Williams, obviously, with the Bears, and now Caleb Wilson with the Chicago Bulls. And joining us now to break that down and the NBA draft, and perhaps more, our friend Danny Parkins. First things first on Fox Sports 1, on Twitter at his name, at Danny Parkins. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Nick, doing great, as always. How you doing, buddy?
Doing awesome. Take us through it. Danny, lifelong Chicago Bulls fan. Your team selects Caleb Wilson. I think it's huge cause for optimism. How are you feeling on this Wednesday morning about the Bulls' first round?
I'm thrilled, obviously. I mean, listen, they weren't supposed to be there. Like, that's the first thing, right? Like, so they got to the tanking party late and then got lucky in the lottery, and they got lucky in the lottery in what people are calling a historic draft. And Caleb Wilson is the most exciting prospect the Bulls have drafted since Derrick Rose. And I think that it's the most exciting moment for the franchise since the 2014-15 season where, Derrick Rose was post-knee injuries, but still good and still on the team. And Jimmy Butler had emerged into a star. And that was kind of the last gasp of that team when there was still real optimism around the Bulls. So, is he as surefire as the top three picks? Probably not. He only made 7 3-pointers in his college career, and so in the modern NBA, that's an issue. But he's 6'10". He can jump out of the gym. He has a 7-foot-plus wingspan. By all accounts, his care for the game, his love for the game, his basketball IQ is through the roof. He told Chicago reporters last night that he wants to be one of the greatest of all time, and he understands that this is an organization that has the greatest of all time. So he's saying all of the right things. And now we get to see what happens. His game looks to me a little Amari-ish. People have talked about, Giannis as a ceiling. Now, that's obviously a very, very, very high ceiling. But it's a wildly exciting moment for a Bulls franchise that desperately needed a moment like that.
I want to say that the Knicks winning the championship has freed me of my hatred for the Chicago Bulls, and I want to be happy for you. But if I'm being completely honest, I'm not. Rest of the first round. I'm just being real. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
I really thought.
I wouldn't want you to be.
I really thought. I mean this. I really thought that I would be free of it. That I wouldn't hate the Bulls, and I wouldn't hate the Heat, and I wouldn't hate the Pacers anymore because we won. And nope, still hate. And I especially hate the Bulls. I don't think I'll ever not hate the Bulls. Anyway,
well, listen, you got one. You got one. The Bulls got 6. So take your time. You'll get there.
Well, we got the last one though. And listen, as a Yankee fan, this is true. Like I'm conditioned to speak in these terms. We won the last one. So there you have it. Ergo, our one is better than your 6. Is it? Maybe not. What else, Danny, anywhere you want to take it, struck you from the first round last night of the NBA draft?
So I think that it's an interesting time, and I understand why it happens. I just talked about Giannis and Amari, right? We talk ceilings of these guys, but I do think that Cameron Boozer has become underrated. Like that athletic piece that did all the anonymous scouts and coaches on players. There was a coach who coached against him who said he reminded him of Tim Duncan. It's like father was in the NBA, National Player of the Year, Duke, exceeded all expectations for his athletic testing at the combine, a big whose profiles to be a 20-10 guy who's an excellent passer and, has some Jokic in his game. And it's like, well, let's make him the 3rd pick in the draft. And I get it. Debonsa seems to be a perfect prototype for the modern NBA as a two-way player, and Darren Peterson, who I think is the best player in the draft, is just an electrifying offensive threat who's also awesome on the defensive end of the floor. Like he might be Devin Booker as a plus defensive player. So I think that speaks to how special the draft is, but I honestly think in like 3 out of 5 or maybe 4 out of 5 drafts, Cameron Boozer would be the number 1 overall pick and no one would bat an eye.
What struck me, Danny, and I'm curious if you agree or disagree with this, watching the draft last night, you watch the NFL draft, we watch a ton of sports, right? There's usually, when you get on the air to do a solo show, or what you do with on TV, right? There's usually something you want to complain about, something you don't like, something you view as a negative. I'm being honest. I look at what happened last night in the NBA draft, and I see optimism everywhere. And if I do dislike something, it's not to a significant degree. Like, do I think the Nets should have picked Darius Acuff instead of Michael Brown? Like, probably. But, like, why can't Michael Brown be awesome also? Was there anything that happened last night where in the moment you're thinking to yourself, oh, man, I think they blew it? I don't think I had maybe even one of those big moments last night watching it.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. My things on the draft were all more just like sarcastic smartass remarks. Like when Michael Brown was drafted by the Nets, I'm like, those Nets fans have to be paid actors. Like the draft is in Barclays last night. The Knicks just won a title. I live in New York. There's not a single solitary living, breathing Nets fan. And then when Johnson, the kid from Michigan, was drafted and he went over and he dapped up Dusty May, but then Adai Mara and Yaxel Lindeborg were picked 2 and 3 picks later. I'm like, I wonder if there's any tension there because now they know who the coach's favorite was. Like, it was like little things like that. But in terms of a team, like, really messing something up, I didn't have a strong feeling for it. I thought the kid from Arizona who went to Milwaukee with the 10th pick, made sense for an upside play in the post-Giannis era. So, I thought Lindeborg made sense as a plug-and-play guy for the Warriors, as someone who maybe would be able to contribute sooner than later for Steph Curry. Agreed with you on Acuff over Brown. I actually liked Acuff a little bit more than Wagler. I know that that's not a popular opinion. But, I had quibbles, and like I said, I would have taken Peterson over DeBanza. Like, it feels like DeBanza should be a Jazz because he played at BYU, and the owner of the team has been, funding his basketball life. So, little things like that, but not, wow, any team made a catastrophic mistake.
What did you make, and however you want to answer this question, or if you want to give, a non-answer is totally fine. I hated it. What did you make of the broadcast last night of the first round of the draft?
That's interesting. You hated it.
I hated it. Because you know why? And I'll give you the context. They didn't do sports. It's here's the draft pick, and now here's a 4-minute interview with the player and the family. Put that on ABC. Can I get highlights? Can we talk about how Yaxel Lindeborg fits next to Steph Curry? Do I have to see him doing an interview with Lisa Salters and his mom for 3 minutes? Can we do sports? Is that so much to ask for?
Yeah, so it's so interesting. I think my perspective was I was watching it with Steph, my wife, and she kept saying how many great mom moments there were.
That's funny. See, put it on the ABC.
Yeah, and she loved all of the kids' pictures. And I guess what I would say is sometimes they do the human interest things in the draft, and it feels like we're watching tragedy porn, and it's just man, these were a lot of mom, dad, siblings. These kids are so impressive. They're so it's a product of NIL and media training and education and great parental role models and all of these things. But I was like, these kids are so much more impressive than I was at 18, 19, 28, 29 that I did find myself kind of getting swooped up in it because you would get a minute of analysis from Billis or whoever else was at the desk. And then, you'd go to Lisa Salters for 2 minutes. And I got to be honest, maybe I'm getting soft as a parent, but I was enjoying the parents being able to beam around their kids. So I guess you're just a bad guy is the moral of the story. Yeah.
I'll gladly wear the scarlet letter B, and you can wear the scarlet letter S for soft, and that's totally okay. A couple more minutes with our friend Danny Parkins from Fox Sports. Will Jaylen Brown be a Boston Celtic Game 1 this upcoming regular season? Yes or no, and why?
No. I mean, no with a capital N, capital O. You could scarlet that one on my chest, too. It's not just the fact that they tried to trade him for Giannis and it didn't work. People have been dangled in trade talks. It's not just the relationship aspect of it. Jaylen Brown said this past season was his favorite season in the NBA when he got to be the guy, and he's won a championship and been a finals MVP, and his star running mate was out for the whole year with a ruptured Achilles, and he said it was his favorite year ever. And Brad Stevens at the end of the season, when they lost to Philly, was like, we weren't really that close. Like, when you really think about it and how we played against the best teams, we weren't that close. Like, Boston was a great regular season story. They are an analytically forward-thinking team. Like, because Jaylen Brown is not just a chucker from three, and he is not a guy who doesn't get paint touches or doesn't get fouled. He is great at the things that Boston struggled at. So I'm not saying you get better when you trade Jaylen Brown, but I think that you could trade Jaylen Brown, who finished sixth in MVP and was second-team All-NBA and is legitimately one of the 5 to 10 best two-way players in the whole sport. You can trade him for just about anything. Like, if you could get Giannis for him, and he's got such a huge contract so you can take on a bunch of deals, you could trade him to Atlanta, Alexander Walker, Kuminga, and Richiche. You could trade him to Houston for Jabari Smith, Kevin Durant, and draft picks, or Amen Thompson and Şengün and draft picks. Okay, you can trade him to Orlando for Paolo Banchero. You can trade him to Portland for Shaedon Sharpe and Jeremy Grant and Scoot Henderson. Like, so my guess is Brad Stevens uses the huge contract and the huge talent of Jaylen Brown to hold a bidding war, and instead of getting like a one-for-one type trade in Giannis, he ends up getting three pieces that really diversify the Celtics.
Give the last one in about 10 seconds. You guys have been doing an awesome job, obviously, Fox with the World Cup, and you guys covering it on First Things First and in social content. Who's going to win the World Cup right now in your estimation? 10 seconds to go.
I think I picked Spain before the World Cup. I think France has been more impressive. I don't see any team, even Argentina's defense, I'm not sure anyone is going to slow down that scoring attack. So I think France has been the most impressive team so far.
You and me, buddy. Allez les bleus. Let's go France to win the World Cup and cash some bets for myself and Danny Parkins. My friend, sincerely appreciate it. I'll catch up with you when I'm back from my vacation. Enjoy, and we will talk soon.
All right, buddy. Have a good vacation. I would say it's much earned, but you were on vacation like 3 weeks ago. So good for you.
That is, and I'm going to go on another one. Our friend Danny Parkins here with us on You Better You Bet. First things first on Fox Sports 1. Hour 1 done. Hour 2 for you coming up on the other side. We will start the hour talking NBA and World Cup with Jay Croucher from NBC Sports.
on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
This is Bob Costas, not Kostos, but you are listening to Nick Kostos on You Better You Bet.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening, as you do every day, to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The wonderful Sports Wednesday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you here on Westwood One Sports. Love the first hour of the show, starting with the overwhelming excitement I feel the morning after round one of the NBA draft. And I think this is going to be a transformative NBA draft. And I am not insinuating that we will see a player turn out to be as good or close to being as good as Michael Jordan, who was picked in 1984, legendary draft, or as good as Kobe Bryant from the legendary 96 draft, or LeBron James from the legendary 2003 draft. But given the number of stud players that went early last night, I don't know how you wake up this morning and not think that this has the opportunity to transform the fortunes of so many different teams. And I'm not adverse to being negative. If I don't like something, I'm going to come on the air and I'm going to say it. I killed the broadcast last night. If I didn't like picks, if I didn't like a trade, I hated the Bucks trade. Trading Giannis. I hated the return that they got. I'm always honest. I pretty much liked everything last night. And that never happens. I think we will look back 20 years from now, 10, 5, 365 days from now and say, man, that was an NBA draft. That was a first round. Look at how many stud players were drafted in the first round of the 2026 NBA draft. Got into why I think the Spurs and the Thunder stole the show last night. OKC drafting a Daimara. Why? Well, you could galaxy braid it and say, well, maybe Isaiah Hartenstein will be gone at some point. We all know the reason. Because there's a 8-foot-tall Frenchman on San Antonio they need to go through. And the Spurs getting a couple consiglieres, bodyguards for Victor Wembanyama, Jaden Quaintance, and Taris Reed. You absolutely love it. And our friend Danny Parkins joined us to close the hour. We always appreciate that. And we also appreciate our friend Jay Croucher, one of the best betting minds in the media or just people in general. Does great work for our friends at NBC Sports. I said it throughout the playoffs. Some people mistakenly think, it's not their fault, that Mike Tirico's the star of NBC Sports. I'll tell you what, Mike Tirico's not doing stand-ups next to Carmelo Anthony. Our friend Jay Croucher with us here on the show at Croucher JD. What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Good, Nick. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, actually, I was working on the US Open broadcast on the weekend for NBC, and I got to interview Mike Tirico. And that interview, it really reinforced that he is substantially better at his job and what he does than my job and what I do, even if I'm the one who technically gets to do the stand-ups with Carmelo.
So take us through, because I didn't watch. Not the biggest golf guy. No offense. I don't love golf. So take us through that interview. Like, what was your preparation for it? Were you nervous, etc.?
I'm not really nervous. I've met Mike before, but the thing that I took away is just what kind of a level of a savant he is, where we're doing the interview. It's on a Zoom link. He's at the course. I'm in the studio in Stanford. And
it's live or taped?
It's live. So it's me and Jordan Cornette, and we're interviewing Mike and trading questions going back and forth. And so it's us in like 3 boxes to the left of the screen, and then we're just playing golf. But we're talking to Mike about everything about golf. But as he's giving his answers, he's lapsing into very advanced play-by-play of what he's looking at in terms of the golf that we haven't asked him about. So yeah, his mind just operates at a different level. He's obviously a great orator. I think he's got, 100% approval rating for everyone who follows what he does. And so, yeah, it's just, he is the best. He is the standard.
I think you're the standard when it comes to interviews of the ilk that we're about to do right now. So we can get specific, we can get micro. Let's start with macro. What is your biggest betting takeaway, even if you have a strong one, coming out of the first round last night of the NBA draft?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It largely went chalk for the first 7 picks or so. So I don't really have any changed opinions. I think that my macro takeaway overall is that I think the Thunder and the Spurs just continue to really distance themselves. I think
you agree with
Thunder
me. You agree with me with the opinion that
so.
I gave, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that the fact that Giannis didn't go to Boston is just a huge win, really for the entire league and the East as well, but really the Thunder and the Spurs. So I think those two teams, as you go into next season, they are just a tier above everyone else. And obviously the Knicks just beat the Spurs, but when you look at just the aging profiles, I would have the Spurs ahead of the Knicks for championship equity going forward. And the fact that the Celtics don't become this, not necessarily a super team, but a super team adjacent by adding Giannis, I think just puts the Thunder and the Spurs in even better position. The Thunder being able to get, a Daimara, who people were talking about them maybe needing to trade up to get him at 12 seems like a perfect fit. Now, right now, the Thunder, they have 16 players on the roster. They're going to have to make some changes. They can't live in the current cap world that they're living in, but I don't think those changes are really going to hurt them on the court that much this year. I think it's going to be stuff like, moving off of Thomas Sorber or Isaiah Joe. Maybe Topic gets traded. I think the worst case scenario for them in terms of on the court is maybe they decline the option on Lou Dort and he doesn't come back. But Lou Dort is like the 8th best player on the team at this point. So I think the Thunder are rightful title favorites at the moment.
And I mean, and I said this last hour, right? Is Sam Presti the Howie Roseman of the NBA, or is Howie Roseman the Sam Presti of the NFL? Because, I know you know this, kind of under the radar move because they can't afford to pay everybody. And Aaron Wiggins is a good player. He can't crack the rotation, which is more about OKC than it is about Wiggins. They trade him to Atlanta for 2 second-round picks. Great trade for the Hawks. Then they trade 2 second-round picks for Bennett Sturtz, and it's like, how the hell did this just happen? They're unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was talking about this with someone yesterday in relation to the Celtics. So I think, I'd say the Celtics and the Thunder are probably the 2 best organizations at the moment. And just the fact that when you're projecting out these teams and what they're going to look like next season, you kind of have to bake in that between just how good the organization is, how good the coaching staff is that they're just going to continue to win around the margins and develop these kind of Aaron Wiggins type players that you're going to get another Neemias Queta type story with the Celtics, and just have such faith in those two teams. It's like with the Eagles. Like if the Eagles take Cooper DeJean early in the draft, he's probably just going to be really good straight away. That kind of stuff you just have to bake in with these really good organizations. Now, it's never 100% probability. Sometimes they're going to strike out. Sometimes you're not going to get the development stories. But I think those teams, just given their track records, they're so much more likely than other teams. And it's going to be interesting with the Spurs, who, go into the season as basically joint title favorites in the market. I think they're a good organization. I don't think they've demonstrated themselves to be at the level of a Boston or Oklahoma City. And they're going to have to win around the margins because they just came. Now, I know they were ahead of schedule, but they went into that finals without a power forward on the roster, basically. And they're going to have to really kind of mold around the edges to win and close or extend the gap on OKC and the rest.
If I gave you $100, which I won't do, I have to buy a house. But I gave you $100 and said, BetMGM does not have these markets up. I understand other sportsbook do, so I will not read the odds. But you can probably figure out what the odds are for Rookie of the Year. And I'm sure you're familiar with it. And even if you don't want to give a price, you know the general ranges. Who would you bet right now to win Rookie of the Year in the NBA?
Yeah, odds agnostic, I'd take Cam Boozer. I think there's a couple of things. One, Darren Peterson is going to be on a very crowded, high-usage team in Utah. Also, AJ DeBonce is going to a place where he's going to have Trae Young and Anthony Davis soaking up usage. Cam Boozer is going to be on a team with, I'm not sure if Ja Morant is going to be on that team. Even if he is, like the other guys in that starting lineup, they're just not very high usage. And the other thing, too, is that Cam Boozer, I think he was the most productive player of the top guys in college. The advanced stats absolutely adore Cam Boozer. He's also the youngest of that group as well. So I think that he is the best positioned, and he's also going to get just a lot of runway on that team. That Memphis don't have any aspirations to be contending for, playoffs really, let alone doing anything in the playoffs. So I think Cam Boozer is probably the safest bet of those guys. But the good thing about this draft is that, there are guys like Michael Brown, like Darius Acuff, who could come from the clouds, just given the runway they're going to get on bad teams to put up big stats. But I think Boozer is just better than those guys, and I think he's going to get the runway as well. So odds agnostic, he would be my choice.
Will the Washington Wizards or Utah Jazz, or both or neither, make the postseason this year? And however you want to define postseason, play-in, top 8, etc.
Yeah, I don't think either team will be in the top 8. I think the East is surprisingly competent in depth. I don't think there's a lot of high-end teams outside of the Knicks and the Celtics in terms of winning the championship. But I do think the fact that, you're going to have teams like Orlando, Toronto, Atlanta competing for 7-8 seeds. Like, those teams are pretty good for the 7-8 seed type of world. And just the depth with, the Pacers, the Cavs, the Pistons, the Heat, all of a sudden, I think that you're just pushing out further and further where you're going to need injuries for a team like Washington to be able to creep into the top 8. I think Utah have a better chance of making the playoffs than Washington does, but I think that team, the fit is still a little bit awkward just with having, 3 of your 5 best players basically being 7 foot or thereabouts is just kind of a strange roster construction. And look, they're not trying to win a championship this year, so that doesn't matter. But in terms of just on the court, I do think they have a little while to go. So individually, I think both are odds against to make the playoffs. I think Utah would have a better shot than Washington, though. I don't really know what Washington is doing. I don't know. I understand why Trae Young gets 4 years, $212 million with a player option on the final year. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. But they seem to believe in the guy. But I don't think they're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. Spoiler alert for everybody. Trae Young will be picking up that player option in year 4. Like, we could fast forward there now.
I mean, it's actually,
right?
It's a funny kind of thing to price. Like, he's going to be,
off the
greater
board.
than 90%. Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to bet it, right?
Yeah, he will be picking up that player option. That's like the Bradley Beal player option. Ironically signed by the Wizards. Nick, can I ask you a question? Why don't you like the Bucks trade return for Giannis? What do you think what's wrong with it?
So a number of things. The first thing I would say is I think they mismanaged this for a really long time, and you've been coming on the show for a long time. You know my opinion. It felt like this had drawn to a conclusion a long time ago, and the Bucks really made their first error last summer with the stretch and wave of Damian Lillard and then signing Miles Turner, like trying to kind of half measure this together. It was never going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, obviously. You could have traded him potentially at the deadline and gotten more. You wait and you drag it out literally until the last second. The owner kind of sets this deadline, and then you're basically kind of forced to meet it, backed into a corner. You have 2 offers that I think are substandard. I don't like the Boston offer either, but at least with Jaylen Brown, you get a star. Like, you get a star with Jaylen Brown. With Miami, I like Tyler Hero. I like Jaime Jaquez. I think Yakachonis could be good. I like Khalil Ware. You get some of these draft picks. Obviously, last night we'll see if Nate Amen turns out to be anything. The rest of the picks aren't until 2030. Where's the superstar? Where's the path forward here? Unless you want to tell me that Amen and Braden Burries are both going to be tremendous, I would have rather had the guy that I know is a star, who's under contract for 3 more years in Jaylen Brown, than roll the dice basically with like 5 or 6 players. We have no idea if any of them are going to be great. You play fantasy football, right? Like, you do the show for NBC. I said yesterday, this is like you trade Jamar Chase for Xavier Worthy, Cam Scadaboo, and Hunter Henry. And it looks great because you got 3 players, and then you set your lineup and you're projected to lose by 30. How about this? I'll ask you a question, Saucy Aussie. Why do you like it?
So I'd say 2 main things. Well, one, I agree that the Bucks have mismanaged the situation, but I think they mismanaged it more in the team they tried to build around Giannis than the way they got out. In terms of the 2 trade packages, I think I'm lower than on Jaylen Brown than pretty much anyone. I think he's, one of the most overrated players in the league. I think that Jaylen Brown does.
Would you like to reiterate your Jaylen take from before?
I would rather have Jalen Duren going forward than Jaylen Brown, because I think that Jaylen Brown, that's an age thing. Jalen Duren's 7 years younger than Jaylen Brown, but the thing with Jaylen Brown is that
average 7 points per game in the playoffs, so we have some symmetry there.
He's got to be better. He's got to work in the offseason to improve his complete disaster of a playoffs. But the thing with Jaylen Brown is I think he does all the things well that people overrate, which is score in isolation, dribble a lot, make tough shots, guard really well on the ball. And he doesn't do the things that people don't prize as much as they should, which is make quick decisions, be a good passer, focus more on spacing the floor, guard more off the ball. And I think that at his age, he is so dependent on his athleticism, on his speed, on his bounce that I think that the cliff is coming. And I think that Brad Stevens knows that. That's why Jaylen Brown just finished 6th in an MVP, and Brad Stevens is trying to trade him now because I think he understands that. So I would have chosen the Miami package over Jaylen Brown just because you have Jaylen Brown.
Does that mean you like the Miami package? But does that mean, okay, so let's take, so you prefer the Miami package to the Boston package because you think Jaylen Brown's a little over, which is a reasonable opinion to have. Does that mean you like the Miami package?
I don't
or you
love
just
it.
like
I just
it
don't
more?
think it was offensive. Yeah, I like it more. And also, here's the thing. Here's the way I would look at it. There's two things here. So I think it's a good business to be in, betting against the Heat in this new lottery reform world, where I think that this team is now extremely top heavy. Giannis is a big injury risk. And if he gets hurt, then that pick could, I think, the picks that they're going to get and the swap that they have, those could be, lottery picks that with the new reform, you don't need the Heat to bottom out to be a 17-win team to get a potential top 3 pick. You just need them to be a lottery team. And I think that those worlds could develop over the next few years with the 2 picks that they have and the swap. They also got pick 13. And then the way I would look at it is, okay, the players they got, none of them especially exciting individually, but Tyler Hero will fetch a first from someone. He is a good player. A team like the Pistons will trade a first for Tyler Hero. Yakuchonis was picked 20 in the draft last year. I think he is still a first-round talent. Kalel Ware was picked 15 2 years ago. He is still, I think, valued like a first-rounder. Jaime Jaquez, whatever, but he finished second in Sixth Man of the Year. He's a fine player. And also you get off the Bobby Portis contract, which is terrible. So I think if you look at it, it's not like they got 3 picks and a swap and then just like a bunch of nothing players. It's more like they really got 6 to 7 first-round picks of value. Now, they're not great
Are you listening to what you're saying? You are contorting yourself like you're in Cirque du Soleil right now. They got 6 first. No, they didn't. The 6 first-round picks.
Yakuchonis and Ware are first-rounders. Those guys have first-round value. Tyler Hero has first-round value. You could trade those guys for a first-round pick. Now, they're not great first-round picks. They're mid to late firsts. So I get it. It's not like your typical get absolutely everything. But I just don't think this is a terrible return for a guy who's going to be 32, has dealt with a lot of injury issues, can't shoot, is really dependent on his athleticism, and I don't think he's going to age particularly well.
Now we're slamming Giannis? Is that where we're at now? Did we reach this portion of the interview?
I think the league speaks for itself with what the league offered for Giannis. Like, they didn't have amazing offers. The league doesn't value Giannis that much. Like, I'm guessing that, the Blazers were keeping, Denny Avdija out of Giannis packages. I just don't think that this guy, at his age, Giannis hasn't won a playoff series in, 6 years. In his absolute prime in a really weak conference. So I just don't think that teams were willing to give up their entire future for this guy. And so what the Bucks got with Miami, it's not amazing. It's not inspiring. I just don't think it's offensive.
I mean, it's not inspiring. You just made it like it's the greatest trade in the history of trades. No.
If you wanted to
got
flip
6
those guys
first-round picks. You're basically like, Giannis sucks. This is the greatest trade ever.
No, I'm just saying that you could move. If they'd gotten 6 or 7 firsts and expiring salary, I think it would be viewed differently. Whereas I think that Tyler Hero will get a first. Yakushonis is a first, basically. So I don't think it's that bad. And also, I think that Miami's picks going forward, I do think they will be valuable in a way that I don't think picks from the Celtics really will be valuable. I just think that team has too high of a floor. So I'd rather be betting against Miami than betting against Boston in terms of draft.
I agree with that. A couple more minutes here with our friend Jay Croucher. There's nothing to disagree with. You're 100% right about that. Our friend Jay Croucher from NBC Sports. I'm going to create a scenario for you. Now, we don't know what the rest of Miami's roster is going to look like, obviously. But what I said yesterday on the show is, if you're going to trust, and look, obviously you trust OKC, you trust Boston. There are front offices you trust. The Miami Heat have to be a front office that you, even if they don't get it right, you feel have some confidence in their ability to potentially get it right. So this requires a little projection. We get to the playoffs next year. Giannis is healthy. Bam's healthy. And Pat Riley has worked some magic. The Miami Heat are the blank best team in the Eastern Conference. Not for the game 1 through 82 in the postseason.
Yeah. fifth, sixth. I think that type of range. I would take
so
to the playoffs.
Knicks and Celtics. Then who else?
Yep, I'd take the Pistons over the Heat just because
of my
man Jalen Duren. Obviously, my man Jalen Duren plays for that team, so obviously they're going to be better. No, I just think the aging curve of Cade, of Osar, of Jalen Duren, the fact that like this hero thing might happen, I think it would be a perfect fit on that team. They're going to upgrade shooting. The Pistons are just a 60-win 1 seed, and all their best players are really young. I'm going to take that team over Miami. The reporting is that Norman Powell isn't coming back, so this Miami team. They don't really have many players who can shoot. They don't have many players who can pass. They don't have many players who can dribble. Those things are problems. They're going to be starting like Davion Mitchell as like the lead playmaker, and then depending on guys like, can they sign Anthony Simons to be their lead guard? Like, this is the world that they're living in. I think this Giannis move is more about this team has a better chance to be a contending team like a year from now when they can fix the roster a bit, because they gave absolutely everything they had in the cupboard to Milwaukee. So I just don't really see the kind of championship level upside for the team. I would take the Pacers upside. And I think that Miami, I would take them over these teams just because Giannis is that good. But I think they're going to be more in the world of the Orlandos, the Atlantas, the Torontos. Cleveland's a weird team, but I would take the Pacers, Pistons, Knicks, and Celtics over the Heat. Would you?
Who's going to win? In a playoff series, I would take in a playoff series, I would take Miami over Detroit and Miami over Cleveland. Not games 1 through 82. Indiana's a bit of a different story. The Knicks are a different story. We'll see what Boston. I know you think Jaylen Brown's the worst player in the league, but I still think he's pretty good. So I'm kidding. You don't think that. Who's going to win the World Cup?
England. I think England are going to win the World Cup.
Oh yeah, inspiring stuff yesterday against Ghana. That cost me a couple of bets. That was great.
Yeah, I think that yesterday, not an amazing performance, but they still had 19 shots to 2. They should have won that game if Harry Kane doesn't blaze it over the bar. Everyone's thinking about that game a lot differently. I don't know why Tuchel started Jed Spence over Nico O'Reilly. I think as they get into the knockout phases, that Bukayo Saka is going to be starting over Noni Madueke. I think that just this team is extremely well drilled. I think Tuchel is the best manager in the tournament. It's very rare that you get a manager, in his absolute prime who is as credentialed as Tuchel is. A guy who's, won the Champions League, had great success in Europe, could walk into managing a team like Real Madrid tomorrow and no one would bat an eyelid. I think that just the combination of the talent on the team, the depth, the fact that Tuchel, I think it's a very good indicator that he left guys like Cole Palmer and Phil Foden at home because they didn't fit the system that he wanted to play, whereas Gareth Southgate just would have taken all the best names and tried to shove it in and make it work that way. So I think that England, their path should be okay, so assuming that the minus 700 gets home and they beat Panama to win the group. They should have a pretty easy round of 32 game. Mexico round of 16, at the Aztec is not going to be easy. But also England is just substantially better than Mexico.
England's better.
Yeah, they should win that game.
And then I think England's better than Argentina, to be fair, also.
Yeah, and that's the side of the bracket they're likely going to be on, where their quarterfinal matchup is probably going to be Brazil in Miami, at a game that I will be at, by the way, Nick. So hoping for England-Brazil as the quarterfinal matchup there. And
then Argentina. How do you work this out with your wife? Side. You have how do you work this out with your wife where you're like a globe-trotting job? You have 3 kids. How do you work this out? I need to talk to you offline about this. How do I talk to my wife to get to more things?
You stack up the equity and then you push the chips in for the big stuff. I'm not spending my equity chips with my wife to go to like Nets Hawks or something. I'm saving it for England, Brazil, and Miami. So that's the key. You just got to use it on the big stuff.
Final question. Better haul. The United States and the Louisiana Purchase, or the Milwaukee Bucks and what they got for Giannis?
Oh, it's very good. I don't love being on the side of like, oh yeah, the Bucks get a great deal. Let's go watch Tyler Hero.
You listening to you talk about this is the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah. No, look, Miami gave up absolutely everything. The team's not going to be any good this year because they gave up absolutely everything they had in the cupboard to another team. Where I don't think the Bucks should have that much.
None of the players are great. They gave up everything from a team that won 43 games. They gave up not the best player, everybody else from a team that won 43 games last year and got bounced in the play-in.
Just wait till you see my boy Yaka Jonas. Also, Tyler Hero's in my stable of guys. Like, I'm a big Tyler Hero guy. I really like Tyler Hero. I think he's very underrated. I don't think he's going to do anything on the Bucks, but I think if he were on the team like the Pistons, that he would be extremely useful. And I think the Bucks
he'd be their closer, right? He'd be their closer, right? I mean, Cade obviously closes games, but I mean, when Cade gets double teamed, that's interesting. Now you put Tyler Hero on the Pistons. Now we're talking. The
best thing about betting, Nick, is that when you have a big bet on someone, you get to really learn the insides of their game. And so I had a lot on Tyler Hero, most improved player, 2 seasons ago. So I was watching every Heat game, and it's like, oh, Tyler Hero has gotten really advanced as a passer and a playmaker, which you just wouldn't have these opinions unless you're watching every Heat game. Tyler Hero can take 10 threes a game and make them at a really high rate, pulling up from 30 feet. He is an outlier shooter. He's gotten a lot better as a passer. Defensively, he's a liability, and that's why he's not, an all-NBA player. But Tyler Hero is very good, and on the Pistons, he would be an incredible fit.
I love how you're the best part of betting is you get to learn so much about these guys that you bet on. For me, the best part of betting is I was going to say, forget about the money. The best part for me of betting is when I click the button and I've got action.
Yeah, that's true. That is also a good feeling for sure.
And
also
being
you get to watch Tyler Hero.
Yeah, and then in a related story, we'll talk about Brendan Sorsby a little later in the show today. Great job as always, my friend. Appreciate it. At Croucher Jam, and that's not a joke. We will talk about Brendan Sorsby later. At Croucher JD on Twitter, NBC Sports. Thank you for the time. Stay well. Allez les bleus.
Yeah, allez les bleus. Yeah, absolutely. Absolument.
I got it wrong.
Yeah, pretty good. I understood what you were saying.
Droit à but, straight to the goal.
Droit à but. Yeah.
Okay.
Not as good. Your allez les bleus was better. Yeah,
well, we'll talk to you later, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
All right, see you, mate. Bye.
Are there any Jalen's on the French team or on the English soccer team that we can compare to Jaylen Brown and Jalen Duren and Jalen Brunson? Jay thinks Giannis and Jaylen Brown suck. Listen, Jay's the best. I'm having fun with him. His opinions are great. I love having him on the show. Bill, what do we got coming up next here? Because we've been working on some stuff behind the scenes. Am I promoting something here, or it's too much to ask. Bill's not here. No answer. Okay. On the other side, we'll either have a guest or I'll be talking more about the NBA draft here on Westwood One Sports.
Brown's a big part of us. Like, I'm never gonna predict the future, but like every indication, everything that I think about over the past few years has been building around those guys.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
This segment on You Better You Bet sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. That's the voice of Boston Celtics head honcho, executive vice president of whatever his title is, runs basketball the GM, runs basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. After the team took Houston's Chris Sinak at the end of the first round last night, nice high upside play for the Celtics with the 27th pick. And Brad Stevens talking about the future of Jaylen Brown. Now, there are times where I will come on the show, and I've done this in the past, where I feel like, as someone who is a lifelong sports fan and has worked in sports media now for, actually, this is my silver anniversary. I've been doing this for 25 years, since I was 18. I'm 43. I feel like I'm pretty good at translating what a coach or general manager is trying to say when he or she says something. There are times when there will be an NFL coach who will make a statement, and I will be able to take that statement and say, this is actually what the coach means. And I think longtime listeners and viewers of the show would tell you that I'm pretty good at that. I actually think it's one of my skills. The sound that we played coming back from break from Brad Stevens is not an instance where you need Rosetta Stone, Babelfish, or whatever it's called. You don't need Nick Kostos or anybody else to translate this for you. It's very obvious I hope it's obvious to all of you what he's saying. So he goes, yeah, Jaylen Brown's a big part of us. It's a weird comment. Big part of us. Big part of what we do. Also, I can't predict the future. AKA, I'm going to trade Jaylen Brown at some point this summer. Yesterday on the show, I said 49% chance Jaylen Brown plays game 1 for the Celtics this year. Less than 50%. Now, I'm not going to say it's 0% because nothing's 0%, but I'll ask you. Answer the question in your own head. What do you think the actual percent chances that Jaylen Brown is on the Boston Celtics to begin this season? There's no way you can answer 50% or more with a straight face. Which doesn't mean it won't happen, just that, again, if you had to handicap it right now. Like, yes or no, will he be on the Celtics this year? How could your answer be yes with a straight face? So we need to start thinking about, like, what this is going to be and what it's going to look like. Now, I really respect Jay Croucher, and, like, I hope people know that, like, Jay and I are friends, and the back and forth we have is all in good fun, and that we both have smiles on our... Like, I disagree with him, and he disagrees with me, and that's fine. Like, reasonable minds can disagree. I think he's great. He doesn't think Jaylen Brown sucks, but he thinks Jaylen Brown's overrated. Reasonable opinion to have. One that I happen to disagree with. Because Jay, I think, and others, and look, Jay's not here to respond to this. I would say this to his face also. Like, no, and then we'd have a conversation about it. I think people with Jaylen Brown are getting caught up in, like, spreadsheets and advanced statistics and EPA and DVOA, and the same people that will tell you Jaylen Brown's not that good will also tell you that the Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens are actually the greatest team in the history of the NFL. Well, if you look at their DVOA, like they're actually better than the 85 Bears. They're better than the 2007 Patriots, and I know that the 2007 Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl. They're better than teams that have actually won. Just look at the numbers. Look at what DVOA, look at EPA, look at what all these advanced statistics show you. And then the calendar turns to January and they lose. When the important games are played, they lose. In the same way, that for the Boston Celtics, when they have to play games with Jaylen Brown as the lead dog, they win. They win. Does he dribble too much? I don't care. Is it too much isolation? Here's what I know. The Celtics didn't have Jason Tatum for the vast majority of last year, and they were the 2 seed in the East. And it's not just because of Jaylen Brown. Like, Joe Mazzulla's a good coach. There are other good players. But let's be real. Pie chart of credit, Jaylen Brown has way more than everybody else, right? So I'm willing to entertain a conversation that Jaylen Brown is not as good as the very best players in the league. We can absolutely have that conversation. And to be fair to me, I've never said he's in the SGA, Jokic, Luka, Brunson, Giannis. I've never said he's in that tier. But I think he's in the tier right afterwards. We can have a conversation. Is Jaylen Brown the 6th best player? Is he the 12th best player? Is he the 15th best player? Whatever. We can have that conversation. But, like, I'm not doing this song and dance that Jaylen Brown's actually not that good because advanced statistics say he's not that good. And this is not an attack on Jay Croucher, who watches a ton of games. But, like, I watch the games also, and I know that he's good. And this idea that and we'll see what the return is. Maybe the return's ridiculous, and I'll come on the show and I'll tell you I'm wrong. And it's a great trade if they make it, and I think so. This idea that the Celtics could potentially be better without him, like, Giannis was one thing, and I wanted them to make that. I think Giannis is better. I think that's a trade the Celtics should have tried to make. Who are they going to get that's better than him? And I'm saying I think he's not going to be on the team. I think it's way less than 50% at this point that Jaylen Brown's a Celtic next year. You know, one of Jay's colleagues at NBC Sports, our friend Drew Dinsick, the whale capper, joined us on the show yesterday and said something prescient. And said something that I agreed with 1,000%, and just with more time to marinate on it. Not that you can agree more than 1,000%, but I think he's right. The Knicks were the big winner of all of this, right? Like, Boston's, I think, is going to trade Jaylen Brown. In all likelihood, the team that the Celtics will field this year is not going to be as good as it was with, like, a healthy Tatum and a healthy Brown. It's just unlikely. Not 100%, but it's unlikely. Who does that help? The Knicks. I agree with Jay. Even if I'm more bullish on the Heat than Jay is, the Knicks are better than the Heat. Like, what's the argument against it? I think all of this really, really helps the Knicks. And I think the Celtics have found themselves in a bit of an unfortunate spot. Now, the same thing I said about Giannis and Milwaukee, I'll say about Boston and Jaylen Brown. If this is the end for Jaylen Brown and the Celtics, the same way we reach the end for Giannis and the Bucks, you can never take down banners. Like, the Bucks won a championship with Giannis. He was Finals MVP. That happened. You can never take it away. In the same way, you can never take down the Celtics banner for the championship they won a couple years ago when Jaylen Brown was Finals MVP. And Brad Stevens alluded to that a little later in the we didn't play you the audio because we're not going to play you like a whole Brad Stevens press conference, but he said a little later, like, whenever Jaylen Brown's Celtics career comes to an end, we are going to celebrate him whenever it happens. And that's true. It's true. You can never take that away. They won the championship. He was the Finals MVP. But to insinuate that the Celtics can be as good next year without him as they would be with him, I don't see it. I don't see it. My sense is we will look back on Boston's refusal, and maybe refusal is too strong a word. Reluctance may be a better word. Reluctance to sweeten the offer for Giannis. I think we will look back on this in both the short and long term as a critical misstep by an organization that doesn't make critical missteps in the Boston Celtics. It's like when you when you bet on a football game, or when you are watching a football game that your favorite team's playing in, and the other team has a fourth down decision to make. And you want them to, like, what do you as a fan want them to do because it helps your team the most? Like, you think that you know what they should do because you're thinking of it in those terms. As a Knicks fan, if the Celtics had traded Jaylen Brown for Giannis, I would have been terrified of Boston. Terrified of the Celtics. I'm being honest. Now, of course, the Knicks don't have to win the East. Who knows what could happen? But at this point, I feel like they're going to. And it feels great. On the other side, more from last night's NBA draft. Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
It's time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. There's a BetMGM ad, and now let's talk about Brendan Sorsby. Please gamble responsibly. So yesterday, the National Football League announced that there would be no supplemental draft this summer in a letter to Brendan Sorsby that was made public, in which the league just, can I say B-slaps? You know what B rhymes with which. B-slaps Brendan Sorsby and his legal representation. I will paraphrase what the league said to Sorsby. Basically like, you provided insufficient evidence. You're basically trying to just force your way into the NFL without giving the NFL enough background on what happened, enough justification, and we say no. So the NFL has basically suspended Sorsby for a year. He won't play college football this year, and he will not be in the supplemental draft. He can enter the 2027 NFL draft. People might think, oh, well, that sucks for Brendan Sorsby. What's he going to do? Well, he gets to keep the $5 million in NIL money from Texas Tech. So he's doing just fine. So why are we bringing this up? I think a lot of shows will take the opportunity, not that they're wrong, I just don't find it to be that interesting, that this is the NFL's grand gesture and, putting their foot down. We do not tolerate and we will not condone gambling, and we have a zero tolerance policy for it. Great. Well, film at 11. What a stunning revelation. Here's what interests me. Last night, we had a pretty stellar first round of the NBA draft, and we'll see what happens when the games are played, but I feel like this will be a transformative NBA draft. And next April, by all accounts, we may have, and probably will have, a transformative NFL draft in terms of quarterbacks. And Brendan Sorsby will now be one of them. I'd like to give a tip of the cap to friend of the show, Nate Tice from Yahoo Sports, who does a great job covering the NFL for Yahoo Sports, the son of former NFL coach Mike Tice. Nate, last year, had Fernando Mendoza as his number one quarterback, and I'm talking this time last year, before anyone thought it was going to be possible. So Nate tweeted out after the Sorsby news his list of top quarterbacks. As of right now, things can change, in the 27 draft. Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, Dante Moore, Minnesota's Drake Lindsay, Oklahoma State's Drew Westemacher, I can't read my handwriting, Westemacher, right, from Oklahoma State, Trinidad Chambliss, CJ Carr, Darian Mensah, and Brendan Sorsby. Pretty good. Where Sorsby might be the 7th best quarterback in the draft class next year. I understand that it's June, right? It's June. It's my 3-year wedding anniversary today, by the way. Happy wedding anniversary to me. It's June 24th. And the NFL draft is not until next April. I get it. But I'm just saying, let's get ahead of this right now. Do you understand how many legit quarterback prospects there are going to be? As opposed to, after Mendoza, here's like Ty Simpson and like Carson Beck. How good it's going to be next year. And that the 2027 NFL draft could make the same impact in that sport as the NBA draft last night, the 2026 NBA draft in professional basketball. Final hour, power hour coming up on the other side. More on the NBA draft. We'll talk some World Cup, give you some bets for today, and perhaps a surprise or two along the way as well. Keep it locked right here. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Kenny. Final hour. Power hour. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our crew, the great Seth Greenberg, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. We are just going to get to it here because I just want to start the interview off by telling Seth Greenberg of ESPN, who's on the air with us right now, how much I appreciate him making time for us on what I know is a very busy morning for him, because I have one of the TVs in my office, ESPN on. He's been on TV all morning, making time for us now at 11 a.m. Eastern on this Wednesday after round one of the NBA draft. So Seth, a sincere thank you from me, Nick Kostos, to you. How's it going this morning? I really appreciate it.
Life is good, except I'm right now on 9A trying to get out of here and get back to Connecticut, and I'm going to visit with you and then Dan Patrick, and then try to shut it down so I can get home as quickly as possible, because it's been a grind.
No, and I really appreciate it, and I thought like your analysis of the draft has been great, and I'm excited to discuss it with you right now. And I want to start with this, Seth, just before we get micro and talk about players and teams, just overall. And I want to be careful with how I say this. I don't want to get too over my skis here, because it's possible the games will be played and none of these guys will be that great. I don't think that'll be the case, but just to say, you never know. As I'm watching the draft last night, and I'm thinking about it this morning before the show, I'm so positive about all of it and optimistic about it. And I think this has the chance to be a transformative draft for so many teams that picked early. Do you see it that way, where I woke up this morning, I don't really dislike much of what happened last night. Absolutely loaded draft. I'm so excited to watch these players. Do you feel that level of excitement that I do about the first rounds of the draft?
Yeah, I do. They're as impressive as people as they are as players. We interviewed all those guys as they came off the stage on radio, and one after another, I kept on turning to, Corey and PJ. Said, "Damn, those guys are impressive." But look, they have been raised the right way. A lot of those guys have been raised through USA Basketball. They've got great parental guidance. They have incredible approaches to the game. They love the game. They're lost in the game. Their maturity is far exceeding their age. And they all have a chance. Now, look, part of that is having a chance, and the other part of it is getting a chance. So they have a chance because they've been drafted. Now they've got to see when they get their chance, and will people be patient. It's not as easy as it looks on. But there's a very special group coming into to the NBA.
And there's no question about it. And that group headlined, of course, by A.J. DeBonsa of BYU, who goes number 1 overall to the Washington Wizards. Coach, how do you project A.J. DeBonsa at the next level? I think he's going to be a monster early for the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, he's going to be a monster early. I like him as a small ball 4. It's what I like him as, because then all of a sudden you put him in ball screens with guards, and he can turn the corner, he can see over the defense, he can make plays, defensive rebounds, a fast break. He could be a great defender. He's got to be a more committed defender. But yeah, he's an incredible talent. Now, part of that situation is very, very simple. As good as he is, that the organization he's playing for has got to get their stuff together. What are they going to do with AD? You give Trae Young all that money. How are you going to manage that? How are you going to get him to play winning basketball? We know that he points and assists and all those numbers are great, but what about the hockey assist? What about the advanced pass up the court? What about the simple play? So he's an incredible talent. Getting him to play real winning basketball, I think that's going to be the challenge. And AJ is going to have to coexist in that environment.
I think that what you said there, small ball 4 for A.J. DeBonsa, is so fascinating. Just future team building for Washington with A.D. and obviously Alex Sarr on the roster. Feels like something may have to give there, whether it's this offseason or moving forward for the Washington Wizards. Let's move on, Seth, to the second pick in the draft, Darren Peterson. And the omnipresent story line around Peterson is not like, is he a great player? I think everyone thinks he is. Just that after what happened at Kansas last year, some of the weird stuff with the injuries, the creatine, etc., like, what's this going to look like at the pro level? What do you think this is going to look like at the pro level for Darren Peterson now in Utah with the Jazz?
He's going to be a bucket. He's going to be an NBA All-Star. He's going to be a guy, in our interview with him, said his goal is to play 82 games. A guy that is uniquely talented, guy that has heard all of the conversation. I think the situation at Kansas was not ideal for him. I'm not sure he ever felt really comfortable. And he made some bad decisions. And his sports group and the people that were guiding him and helping him navigate this transition made some bad decisions. But once the ball goes up and now that he's an NBA player, it's all different, man. It's all different. And talent overcomes a lot of things, and he's got a ridiculous talent, and he's got a gift to make threes and shots. He makes tough guarded shots.
I'm guessing you agree with this. I think you may have even said this on ESPN, and it feels like everyone has kind of reached this consensus opinion that Cam Boozer, as this draft process went along, actually kind of became underrated a little bit. And how many drafts would he have been the first overall pick? He goes third overall last night. And I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here. How is this not like a grand slam home run for the Memphis Grizzlies? Am I missing something here, Coach, or do you agree with that assessment?
No, I agree with you. He, as a person, as a player, as maturity, we undervalue him because he's not this freak running jumping dude. All he does, if you break down his analytics are just absolutely stupid. Guy knows how to play. He knows how to get angles. He finishes around the basket. He can pick and pop. He can move his feet defensively. And the ball hits his hands, he owns it. He's a plug-and-play 19 and 10 kind of guy. He'll have a career double-double statistics. I think the guy's terrific. And they need high-character winning players. They got to figure out a way to utilize John Morant in terms of getting the best out of John Morant, getting him to be the person I knew him when he was at Murray State. They can do that. This is a great start.
What'd you make of the Bulls night last night, Seth?
Home run. Absolute home run. Caleb Wilson, home run. Dalen Swain, home run. Versatile, offensively and defensively. People forget he led Texas in points, rebounds, assists, steals. I mean, home run. They drafted two guys that are really good, tough, winning players.
Would you have liked to see picks, even if we acknowledge that all the players are going to be good, picks 5 through 7 go differently in any respect, with Wagler going 5, Michael Brown going 6, and Darius Acuff going 7?
Yeah, I would. I mean, the Nets obviously like Benham as their point guard. If not, they would have drafted Darius Acuff because he's more of a point guard, ball guard, scoring point guard. Michael can swing more, probably more of a shot maker, jump shooter, I should say, but can play the point. But I'm a big Darius Acuff fan.
Yeah, I think Acuff's going to be awesome. Just 2 more quick ones for you here. What did you make of what the Thunder and the Spurs did last night, Coach, in round 1 of the draft?
Well, the Thunder drafted a guy that is an insurance policy deciding on what Hartenstein's going to do, and Bennett Sturts, who gives him another just high character, low mistake, solid guard that can make shots and is tough and physical and fits their culture. And then I thought the Spurs did a great job. I'm a big Paris Reed fan. I think he's gotten so much better. But Jaden Quinn is the X factor because his growth and his potential and how good he could be as a rim protector and a policeman for Webby, his shot blocking, his athleticism, I thought they hit that in the park.
Final question, Coach, and really appreciate the time while you're in transit. Thank you. Second rounds of the draft tonight. Some notable names still on the board, whether it's Duke's Isaiah Evans, North Carolina's Vasar, right, the center. What are you looking at tonight as a storyline or two that you're watching for night 2, round 2 of the NBA draft?
Yeah, where Malik Thomas goes, where Vasar goes, obviously where Isaiah Evans goes. Those four guys probably have regrets because the money they would have made next year in college would have been off the charts. But there'll be guys that will emerge. There are other players, I don't have my list right in front of me, but there are good players that are available. And there's always second-round picks that emerge. And there will be second-round picks that emerge. I think the one storyline that's most interesting is the fewest international guys, true international guys we've had in a long time. And the reason being is college basketball has become, instead of a draft and stash, these kids are going right to college from overseas, getting paid and being evaluated in college as opposed to being stashed and staying overseas and playing for their club teams.
Coach, you're always generous with your time. I know that it's been very busy for you this morning and you're on the road right now. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Get home safely. We'll catch up with you down the line.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.
The coach, Seth Greenberg, joining us here on You Better You Bet. That is a nice guy. On ESPN all morning, driving home, going to do a hit with Dan Patrick, makes time for us here on Westwood One Sports. You absolutely love that. So really appreciate the coach, Seth Greenberg, here on You Better You Bet. And yeah, so that my Knicks, as it stands right now, have the first pick tonight of the second round. I don't know if they're going to make that pick or if they're going to trade back. Our friend Tyler Morales, who's a huge college basketball guy on our team, writing in our show chat that the Knicks should draft Isaiah Evans. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Evans, obviously, the sharpshooting, three-point guy for Duke last year. And given the fact that, Deuce McBride couldn't make a shot in the finals and Landry Shamet cooled off after going nuclear against the Cavs, and he made some big shots in the finals, it does feel like the Knicks could use a little more shooting. Also need a little size. Look, I'm turning this into a Knicks thing right now, but they do have the first pick of as it stands right now, of the NBA draft tonight. Westwood One Sports, Nick Kostos and you, presented by BetMGM. A couple other thoughts on round 1 of the NBA draft. I love what the Atlanta Hawks did last night. So they had the 8th pick by virtue of last year's trade with the New Orleans Pelicans, which everyone went, and I get it, like the process of the trade was bad for New Orleans. I understand. Also, I think Derek Queen's going to be really good for the Pelicans. So everyone that said this was like the apocalypse was here because the Pelicans made that trade with Atlanta, unprotected pick this year, turned out to be the 8th pick in the draft, could have been way worse, just saying. And I think Derek Queen's going to be a really good player. And Jeremiah Fears really flashed at the end of last year for the Pelicans. But this is an Atlanta Hawks conversation. So Atlanta ends up with the 8th pick in the draft. And here's Kingston Flemings from Houston falling to them at 8th overall. Now, they did just sign C.J. McCollum to a short-term extension, so who knows how long McCollum will be in Atlanta for. Flemings is going to be a stud. Now, he may not be, Darren Peterson at the NBA level, but I largely kind of looked at the 4 guards that went after the top 4, right, which was Wagler and Brown and Acuff and then Flemings. You can make, why can't Flemings be the best of those 4? Why can't he be? How good he was last year for the Houston Cougars and Kelvin Sampson. So here's Kingston Flemings falling into your lap if you're Atlanta. And lest we forget, the team that had the most success in the NBA playoffs versus the juggernaut New York Knicks was Atlanta. Beat the Knicks twice. Dealt New York 2 of its 3 losses en route to a 16-3 playoff run and championship. Jalen Johnson, Kongwu, McCollum, Daniels, Alexander Walker. Can you ever get anything out of Risa Shea? Just got Aaron Wiggins for 2 2s. That's a great trade by Atlanta. And now here's Kingston Flemings. If you're a Hawks fan, you got to be tickled pink today. You got to absolutely love it. And I'll take it a step further. Atlanta's second first-round pick, and I was a little crestfallen by this pick because it was never going to happen because the Knicks were never going to make a first-round pick because they want to stay under the second apron, and first-round contracts are guaranteed, slotted scale, whereas second round, you can basically do whatever you want for financial reasons. So it was never going to happen, even if I wanted it to happen. The Hawks took St. John's big man, Zuby Ejiofor, with their second first-round pick. Ejiofor, Big East Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, obviously was a monster for St. John's, winning the Big East tournament. Obviously beating Kansas in the second rounds, and then before falling to Duke in the Sweet 16. Ejiofor, and I mean this in the most complimentary way possible, is a tough son of a bitch. Think about the way the season ended for Atlanta. And I am a Knicks fan saying this, but I think, whether you're a Knicks fan or a Hawks fan or whatever team you root for, how can you disagree with the sentiment I'm about to lay out? The Hawks got punked by the Knicks in the final 3 games, and especially the final 2, and especially Game 6 at home. When you had the viral moment of James Dolan sitting next to Stephon Marbury going, "We're up by 50 effing points," and didn't say effing, said the full word. The Knicks annihilated, wiped Atlanta off the face of the earth. And it's not just that Atlanta folded like a cheap suit in that moment and in that game against the Knicks. It was that they tried to be fake tough guys once the Knicks built that lead. Okay, great. You're at home. The Knicks are beating the brakes off you. If you remember, and I was on vacation when it happened, at halftime, Shaquille O'Neal is trying to give CPR to the Atlanta Hawks doll, which was hysterical. They tried to be fake tough guys and hard foul the Knicks when the Knicks are up by 35 in the first half of a closeout game in Atlanta. It was embarrassing for the Hawks. And I'm not trying to paint this as, this core can never win because of that. Of course they can. But if you're a Hawks fan, did you like that? Because it's one thing to lose. It's another to get punked and embarrassed. And that's what the Knicks did. Now, the Knicks also did that to the Sixers. The Knicks also did that to the Cavs. But you didn't see the Sixers and the Cavs do what the Hawks did and embarrass themselves in those waning moments. Zuby Ejiofor, and I'm not expecting Ejiofor to walk on the court for Atlanta and be Dominique Wilkins in terms of impact, but he brings that tough son of a bitch mindset. And my guess is he will bring an edge to this Hawks team, this young Hawks team, that they clearly need based on how that went in the closing moments and the closing game against the New York Knicks. 2 other thoughts from last night's NBA draft. Was Dusty May the biggest star on TV last night in the NBA draft? It was his star-making turn. He's there, obviously, going to be named the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, and he loves it when they take Merez Johnson, right? One of his Michigan players that went in the lottery. And then, Landenberg goes to Golden State, and Adai Mara goes to the Thunder, and literally Mara gets picked by the Thunder, and Dusty May is cursing and punching his hand, knowing that he's going to have to deal with one of his former players in the Western Conference for years to come. I enjoyed that. Now, if we're going to project Merez Johnson this year with Dallas, think about his length, his athleticism, his defensive prowess, along with Derek Lively and Cooper Flagg. I mean, that team, the Mavericks, that's like a defensive buzzsaw. It's almost like this is a team that Nico Harrison wishes he had built. Remember Nico Harrison? Defense wins championships. The Mavericks are obviously not close to winning a championship, but if you look at that roster with Kyrie going to come back, you see the vision for what that defense can be and the rock fights they're going to play in. And here's Cooper Flagg, one of the best young players in the sport, and a coach that I think a lot of us are excited about in Dusty May. So I really like that from Dallas. And yes, I did not like the haul Milwaukee got back from Miami for Giannis. I thought they should have gotten more. I'm not as bullish on the haul. But I always want to tell the truth and be honest. because I could lie and continue to slander Milwaukee after what they did in the draft last night, just to further what some people believe is a narrative or for clicks. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell the truth. Within reason, what the Bucks were able to accomplish last night with Burries at 10 from Arizona and Ament at 13 from Tennessee. When I say within reason, like Darren Peterson was never falling to 10. It's never going to happen. It was a pipe dream to even insinuate that one of the four guards with Wagler and Brown and Acuff and Flemings, that was a pipe dream that one of them was going to fall to 10. So when I say within reason, that's what I mean, right? Within reason, I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks could have done better than they did last night. With Burries at 10 and Ament at 13. These are two big-time swings of the bat, high upside plays, where why can't there be a world that exists in a few years where Burries is one of the best players in this draft? Like, why can't that happen? He's awesome combo guard. Why can't that happen? And Ament's a little trickier, right? He's not ready to contribute the way Burries is right away. He needs to fill out his frame. He's got to get a little stronger, right? He's not ready just yet to contribute. But I think everyone acknowledges his sky-high upside, right? Where he fills out his frame. And Taylor Jenkins and the Bucks can develop him. Like, he could be a stud. And it's not going to happen this year. It won't happen in 26-27. But why can't it be the case for 2 or 3 years from now? Like, the Bucks were never at 10 and 13 getting AJ DeBonsa. They were never getting Caleb Wilson. They were never getting Darius Acuff. So in terms of options that were actually realistic for them, I think they drilled this. Grand Slam. Grand Slam. You're at the beginning of a massive rebuild, and you take 2 swings at potential is the word, but potential all-star caliber players. I hated the Giannis trade. I hated the return, but I need to acknowledge the Bucks slammed the first round of the NBA draft last night. Coming up next here on You Better You Bet, our crew, Bill Zimmerman and company, has put together an NBA draft blind ranking for yours truly. I will attempt to dominate it. Next on Westwood One Sports.
2026 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select Anise Debansa Jr. from Brigham Young University.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
I will give you some bets for the World Cup and talk a little footy, including, I don't know what the hell happened to England yesterday, a 0-0 draw against Ghana. That's coming up in a little bit, but our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, is here with a blind ranking, Bill, and we can acknowledge at the start that I've done very well with these, so I'm hoping to keep it rolling here on this Wednesday. How's it going, my friend?
It's going very, very well, Nick. And yes, you with the blind rankings and the trivia, you would definitely succeed more than you fail with these. And I think this one, either you're going to crush it or you're going to get yourself into a pretty hairy pickle. So we're going to see how you do here. We have
are there hairy pickles, or is it just like a pickle?
If they are, I wouldn't want to eat one. So
are you a pickle guy?
I like a good dill pickle. But some of those other ones, not so much on the other flavors. But
you like a pickle on like your sandwich?
A pickle on like a hot dog. Pickles on on certain burgers. Not really on a sandwich. What sandwich?
Well,
do you put a pickle on?
That's a Chicago thing, right? Pickle on a hot dog.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's the Chicago style hot dog, which has the pickle, the relish, the tomato, the mustard, the whole thing. Can't put ketchup on a hot dog if you're from Chicago.
I like ketchup and mustard on a hot dog. That's just me, though. Oh, we have a little bit of breaking news. So let me do this here. Let me do this news here. The Lakers and Austin Reeves. So Reeves is going to sign a 4-year, $185 million max contract to return to the franchise, player option for the final season. He declined, obviously, the $14.9 million player option for this new max deal. So none of this is a surprise. We told you back in February this was going to happen, that Austin Reeves was going to sign a max deal with the Lakers this summer. Obviously compliments Luka Doncic well. The Lakers have to get better defensively, but Reeves is way too good of an offensive player. The Lakers were never going to let him walk. So Reeves is back in L.A. on a max contract, and now, obviously, LeBron James and that situation on the clock for the L.A. Lakers. So Austin Reeves, max contract to remain in L.A. with the Lakers. Bill, please continue.
All right, Nick, let's jump into this blind ranking. And obviously, in honor of the NBA draft, we are having you blind rank number 1 overall picks that are in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. That are all in the Hall of Fame. Okay. So, okay, I'm just trying to think of, okay, all right, let's do it.
All right, we are going to start the list with Shaquille O'Neal.
All right, so I'm trying to think of just like number 1 picks that are in the Hall. So we have Shaq. We have Hakeem, Magic. I'm just writing down some really good ones. We have Kareem. It's like, where does Shaq fall on this list? Jordan wasn't first overall, obviously. Okay. So Shaq has to be in the top 5. I will put Shaq, let's put Shaq 3rd.
All right, Shaquille O'Neal coming in at number 3. The next name on your list, Tim Duncan.
All right, so is Duncan better than Shaq? Close. I'll put, who do you think's better, Tim Duncan or Shaq?
Personally, I think it's Duncan, but I think it's very debatable.
I'm going to say Shaq, and I'll put Duncan 4th.
All right. Next name, Big Game James Worthy.
All right, so Worthy's a great player, but he wasn't the best player on his own team, obviously, when the Lakers were winning. So Worthy will be in the back half. I just don't know. Like, let's put Big Game James. Let's put him 9th.
9th, all right. Moving on, we're going back to the center position with the dream, Hakeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem will be 5th.
All right. And you've already mentioned this name when you were jotting them down, Magic Johnson.
So Magic will be, I think Kareem's going to end up being number 1 here. So let's put Magic 2.
So far, I think you're doing pretty well so far. The next name, little career shortened personality, media, Bill Walton.
All right, so Walton has to be above James Worthy, because Walton was the best player on a championship-winning team. Let's put Bill Walton 8th.
All right. Next name, did not win a championship, but he has an MVP. Allen Iverson.
I can't put Iverson's probably a better player than James Worthy overall, but let's put Iverson 10th.
All right. So for those listening right now, we'll reset here. Nick still has the 1st, 6th, and 7th spots open. Magic Johnson 2nd, Shaquille O'Neal 3rd, Tim Duncan 4th, Hakeem Olajuwon 5th, Bill Walton is 8th, James Worthy 9th, and Allen Iverson 10th.
So I'm holding one for Kareem. So I'm hoping that Kareem comes up here.
Understandable. The next name, Patrick Ewing.
Okay, so see, this is where Walton's probably above Patrick. Patrick obviously like better career overall, but Walton was the best player on the Blazers team that won the championship and was Finals MVP. So this is a misstep for me. We'll put Ewing 7th.
All right, Ewing comes in at 7. You save that number 1 spot indeed for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, Kareem is number 1. And I think that this is correct, right? Kareem, Magic, Shaq, Duncan, Olajuwon is the top 5. Well, I don't know who the next name's going to be.
I think you're going to be comfortable with this name not in the top 5. We'll see where you think about it on the back half here. The last name on your blind ranking, the Admiral, David Robinson.
Okay, so Robin. So I'm comfortable with the top 5. I think I nailed the top 5. So if I had to redo it, so Robinson 6th. Robinson has to be okay. So
it's a solid list. You could definitely defend this list.
I think Walton needs to be 6th.
Well, I mean, you can make that. His peak was incredible. It just was short-lived.
So if I could
rank Gale Sayers on all-time running backs, you know?
Well, Sayers is one of the best running backs ever.
That's what I'm saying. But he only did it for 4 seasons.
I think Walton would be 6th if I could redo this. Walton 6. I guess like Robinson 7, Ewing 8th, Worthy 9th, Iverson 10th. I think that's the only difference. Is I think Walton needs to be 6th. But this is a pretty good list, though. No,
this is you did a hell of a job with it again. I'm not gonna lie. It's like you could quibble on things, but that's just like personal opinion. I like Duncan over Shaq, those kind of things. But like, there's a lot of people have Shaq as a top 5, 6 player of all time. So yeah, this is a really good list.
Well, like objectively, Kareem's better than Shaq, right?
Oh yeah, I think for sure.
And Magic's better than Shaq also, right? I understand they play different positions.
I would agree with that as well.
And at his peak, Shaq's better than Duncan.
Yeah, Shaq was more dominant at his peak. I agree.
Hakeem nuked Robinson and Ewing both and route to championships. So Hakeem has to be over them. Yeah, and I'm comfortable with Iverson being 10th. Who would you put Iverson or Worthy? Or who would you have ahead of the other?
I think I'd have Worthy ahead of Iverson.
Because we had more success.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's I'll do World Cup to close the show. Let's do the trivia question right now. So another, by the way, blind ranking slamming by yours truly.
It's a hell of a job. All right. We're going to stick with NBA draft here for the trivia, Nick, because, of course, the Washington Wizards last night selected A.J. Debonsa with the topic of the NBA draft. That was the Wizards franchise's history. 7th time they've had the number 1 pick, more than any other team in NBA history. That broke a tie with another franchise. They were tied at 6 going in the last night. Who is the franchise that has had the number 1 pick 6 times?
The Cavs.
The Cleveland Cavaliers is correct. Yes, you nailed it.
The Bill. I mean, come on. Like, can we have a better question? Would have been name the players the Wizards picked first overall.
Well, then you'd have to go back to the Baltimore Bullets and the Chicago Zephyrs.
So John Wall, obviously.
John Wall. I think he was the most recent one. Yeah, he was the most recent one since Debonsa.
So Debonsa, John Wall, Wes Unseld.
I'm not sure if Wes Unseld was. You are missing one other one in this century.
In this century?
Yes. It did not go well.
How could it have?
He played with Michael Jordan.
Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown. Yeah.
Or as Stephen A. Smith called him, Kwame Brown. Yes, Kwame Brown. Okay.
And here, I have the other picks. I don't think you know one of these, but
Bob Pettit?
Rafe? No.
Artis Gilmore?
1953, Ray Felix.
Who
1954.
Who is Ray Felix? Isn't that like isn't he in like WWE?
54, Frank Selvey.
Frank Selvey. Frank Selvey grew up next to me in Queens.
1961, Walt Bellamy. There you go.
Okay, that name I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And 1962, this is not a made-up name, Bill McGill.
Bill McGill.
There you go.
I think was a character in Better Call Saul. Can you name, 6 times the Cavs have picked first?
You're asking me to name them all?
No, well, the Cavs have picked 6 times first overall, right, by virtue of the question. If Washington's picked 7th, then okay. So so let's see if we can name the Cavs. So LeBron, Wiggins, Anthony Bennett,
the great
Kyrie,
Anthony Bennett, Kyrie, yep,
Kyrie Irving. There's another recent one I feel like I'm missing, like pretty recent, right? Oh, Brad Daugherty.
Brad Daugherty in '86.
And then there's another recent one.
Is that
I'm
5?
missing, right? That's 5. There's one more.
Well,
it's
I know
recent,
there's
right?
No, I know there's one. There's an older one from the '70s. I know
from the '70s.
Yes. Didn't live up to number 1 billing, but was a very good player for a long time.
Was a coach also or no?
Was he?
I was going to say Lenny Wilkins, but that's not right.
It was not Lenny Wilkins.
Good player for a long time. What position?
Forward. No, guard.
I have no idea.
Austin Carr.
Oh. CJ's brother.
Derek's cousin.
David's uncle. All right. We'll take a break. And on the other side, we'll talk some World Cup and a little bit more reactions to the Austin Reeves extension and LeBron James' future here on You Better You Bet.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
It's time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. This is going to be my last show for a couple weeks. Basically been going, and I know I sporadically have days off here and there, and I went to Florida for a week. This has pretty much been straight through since NFL season. New network, new time, solo show. Looking forward to taking some time off this summer. But don't you worry. Once we get into the swing of football in August and football season, you won't be able to get rid of me. So to anyone who's saying, man, like Nick's going to take a lot of time off, don't worry. I'll basically be sitting in this chair I'm sitting in right now for 7 months straight, starting in September. So the crew will be here. We'll have great hosts, Chris Mack, Carrington Harrison, and others in for yours truly over the course of the next couple weeks. I will take the opportunity to spend as much time with my family and my young daughter as possible. Because I think, this happens to me. I am one of the first people on this list of people that place way too much emphasis on work and things that in the grand scheme of things ultimately don't matter that much. This job is great, and I love it, and I mean that, and it means a lot to me and is very important to me. Nothing matters more than the people you love in your life, than your family, your friends, and no matter how much money you make, you can't buy more time. So I'm looking forward to spending, people ask, well, what are you doing? Are you going away anywhere now? So what am I going to do in my time off? Well, I'm going to watch a lot of World Cup because I love it. I'm not going to get up at 5:30 every day. I'll probably still get up at like 6:30 every day because I like to get up early, but I won't have to get up at 5:30. And I'm going to hang out with my daughter. That's about it. I'll still be around on social media. I'll be posting stuff on Instagram and probably a little less on Twitter, but I'll be posting. But looking forward to turning my brain off and coming back refreshed, getting ready for the rest of the summer, and obviously as we lead into football season. So I'll be around. I just won't be on this show for a couple weeks. So thanks to our crew and thanks to you, our audience, that has made all of this possible since we migrated over to this new network and this new time slot on December 29th of last year. So a little more on Austin Reeves, and we gave you that news in last segment, that Austin Reeves signs a 4-year max contract with the Lakers. It's possible that the Lakers can finagle something and LeBron James comes back and he takes less money. Now, I feel really confident that Jaylen Brown is not going to be a Celtic next year. Not 100%, but I feel pretty good about that. I don't think Jaylen Brown will be a Celtic next season. I will make this next prediction with less confidence than the Jaylen Brown prediction. I don't think LeBron James is going to be a Laker next year. If I had to guess, I think he'll be playing elsewhere. I'm reticent to put a percentage on that. Like, the Jaylen Brown thing, I think, is more obvious. LeBron is more of an opinion. I just don't think it makes sense with what the Lakers are trying to do here. Like, can you win a championship this year? Probably no. And if the answer to that question were yes, then yeah, you could bring LeBron back. He's still one of the best 20, 25 players in the league, even at his age, at 41. But I don't think they can win the championship. Is it possible that when I come back from my vacation, LeBron James is playing elsewhere? I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. If Luka's going to make what he's making, and Reeves is going to make what we now know he's making, not what we think he's going to make, what we know he's now making, and the Lakers still have work to do on this roster. Like, Luka wants, reportedly, but it makes sense, like a facsimile of the Mavericks team he took to the title a couple years ago. Like, does anyone look at this Lakers team and see that? And the Lakers have a couple years to get this right with Luka. They have to allocate their resources elsewhere. I don't know how you bring LeBron back unless he's coming back for like the minimum. Is he going to? Maybe he takes a lot less money and he pulls a Brunson and he makes it possible for A, him to play for the Lakers this year, and B, also the Lakers to improve the team so when he's gone, Luka stays. Maybe that happens. My guess is LeBron will be playing elsewhere next season. And with that, let's close the show and my time here on You Better You Bet for the next couple weeks by giving you some bets for the World Cup. Kenny, please drop the dope-ass beat. So how about England yesterday? What a bunch of jerks. 0-0 draw against Ghana. Now, if you watch the game, you know that England probably should have scored a bunch of goals. Literally 79% possession. Now, got probably a little lucky. Ghana maybe should have had a penalty. But, overall, maybe both sides could be happy with the draw. England were the better team. I'm not stressing it for England moving forward. I do think England will make at least the semifinal. I don't think England will win the World Cup. I like France, and if not France, then Spain. But England should at minimum make the semifinal. England also cost us a parlay yesterday because we had Portugal, who beat Uzbekistan 5-0, into England, into Croatia, and Croatia beat Panama 1-0. So thanks for nothing, England. Let's look to get back on the horse today and win some money on the World Cup. And here's what I am looking to do in order to make that happen. Now, we are reaching the final games of the group stages, so we'll have a bunch of games being played over the next few days. Here's today's parlay. I contemplated putting Bosnia in the parlay to beat Qatar, and if Bosnia wins, the United States will play Bosnia. So, and American soccer fans, you want a winner in that game, not a draw. You want Bosnia or Qatar to win, because then the U.S. gets to play one of those teams in the knockout round. So what we will do, Morocco to beat Haiti, Morocco minus 550, into Brazil, with Neymar playing today, minus 325 to beat Scotland, Morocco money line, Haiti money line, and then tonight, South Korea money line against South Africa. That parlay at BetMGM, Brazil, Morocco, South Korea, plus 151 at BetMGM. I have placed that bet with my own money, and if you do, good luck to you and yours. So I am off the rest of the week, and I will catch everybody once we get into the month of July. Everybody have a great 4th of July, and I will talk to you in a few weeks on the show. You can still catch me on social, on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at The Kostos. So for our crew, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Bleck and Abdallah coming up next on Westwood One Sports.